Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're just going to take a couple more minutes just to wait for everyone to join. Okay, we're gonna get started. So my name is Mia Spencer. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a rising third year here at Bentley who's been working with the orientation program and student onboarding for the last couple of years. And I've had the privilege to welcome the incoming class. So a little bit about a Falcon live chat before we get started. It's our way of showing Bentley to you guys before you move in the fall. This is recorded, so if you have to leave or you miss the past ones, you can find them on our YouTube channel. And there's also a question and answer box at the bottom of your screen that you can utilize after the presentation. And now I'm going to introduce our presenters.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claudette Blott, and I am the director of the Multicultural Center here at Bentley. And I hope that you're going to be excited about becoming a brand new Falcon. We're excited to have you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Garson. I'm the director of the Center for International Students and Scholars at Bentley. I look forward to welcoming all of our international students here to Bentley.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Horn. I'm the Associate Director for Orientation and Student Onboarding, and we are so excited to have you here today and are looking forward to meeting you in just about a month.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bobby Lynn, or BL Kekik. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director for Orientation and Student Onboarding. I am so glad to be joined with my wonderful colleagues today to share this information about getting started at Bentley. We are going to cover a little bit about some of the work that your students have already been doing, the ways that they've been engaging, and then we're going to really focus the bulk of our time together to discuss the programs that your students will be participating in as they start their journey here at Bentley. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our PowerPoint. So what have your students been engaging in? Well, there are a whole bunch of things that have kept your student busy over the past few weeks and months. So the first part to this new Falcon experience is really thinking about the task completion. There's a variety of tasks that your students have been asked to make sure that they're completing. And we'll dig into a little bit of detail. And we would love your support in ensuring that your student has completed as much as possible. You know, I think when we think about our parents, families, guardians, supporters, we really do view this as a partnership. We know that you have been with your student for many more years than they have been here at Bentley. And we know that that doesn't go away just because they have now joined our community. So we really try to make sure that we can provide opportunities for our family members, our supporters, to learn a little bit more about Bentley so that when they inevitably come to you, you have a little bit more information that you can help to guide and direct them. Now, please know we have many faculty and staff and amazing student leaders who are going to be here to help support your student through this and have been helping to support your student. But we know that they are still probably going to come to you. So, you know, we're going to talk through what some of these pieces have been, and then really dig into that program, because I think that's where you're going to see that transition start to happen, where your students will have a little bit more independence, that they'll start to feel more comfortable once they're arriving to our campus. But how did they start to learn about this? Well, we start to layer in the information initially through our online orientation program. So that's called Bentley Beginnings. If you haven't had the opportunity to take a look at it yet, you have access to it. So please, you know, if you have the opportunity, please do take a look at that. It really does bring a lot of resources and information to life for students and families. One of the biggest milestones that students just completed are the advising and course registration portion of the new Falcon Experience. And we'll talk a little bit more about that just so that you have some insight into what that experience was. We've also offered a variety of virtual engagement opportunities. We're really active on social media. So if that's something that you enjoy doing, you know that Bentley has many pages to follow through Instagram. So if you, again, are looking for ways to stay connected to the Bentley community, once your students are here, want to stay in the know, there's some really great information there. For our families, again, we want to make sure that you have this information. So as Mia referenced, these live chats are just one way that we work to make sure that our families have some direct access to current staff here at Bentley, where you can learn about this information. So on our Bentley Orientation YouTube channel, you can find all of the recordings from this past summer and even previous summers. And then last but not least, we will be heavily focusing on our pre-orientation programs and our orientation program. So there's a lot that we're asking of folks to prepare, but we really do believe that this helps to provide this tiered experience for our students so that they have that foundation to be successful. In all of the work that you'll see us do, or that you've seen us do over the past few weeks and months, and when you learn about our programs, you're going to see a few goals and themes throughout. So I think one of the biggest pieces is community. We want to make sure that your student is feeling a sense of connection and eventually belonging within this new community that they are a part of. We want to make sure that there's intentional opportunities for connection with faculty, staff, and their peers. This is really going to be their new home away from home, whether they are commuting to campus or living on campus. This is a huge next chapter, and we want them to see that they belong in this community. The next piece is really on values. You know, we have a set of core institutional values that everybody really, lives up to and that we use as the foundation to the work that we do. We want to make sure that our students are able to understand what are the values that they're bringing, what are the community values, where do those align, where might we need to, to learn and grow, and what are their rights and responsibilities as community members. I think one of the biggest pieces is obviously academics. We know that our students are coming for this top-notch academic experience. And so making sure that they are connected to the academic community, they understand the resources. I think a big piece that we see is that for some students who are coming up through, say, high school prior to joining us here at Bentley, they may have never used an academic resource and they excelled. What we find is that in the collegiate setting, that might feel a little different, and that most students are using some version of an academic resource to make sure that they're thriving. And so that's something that we really want to make sure that students know. This is here to really enrich your academic experience and make sure that you are able to make the most of that. Another piece is engaging, right? In order for the students to feel that sense of connection and belonging, we want to make sure that they're engaging in different types of programs and activities, that they're centering their well-being and really thinking about how can they have this balanced experience. And the last piece is really thinking about the traditions, right? They're joining this community that's over 100 years old. There's so many fabulous community members and alumni. The network reaches far and wide. And there's so many traditions that students will now be able to experience. And their story is now being added to what this larger Bentley story is. And so these are some of the themes that you'll see woven through our programs and through the opportunities that your students will be able to participate in.
So one part of the new student onboarding experience is the new student checklist. And this really outlines everything that you have to complete prior to August and orientation beginning. So this checklist was sent out in May with the new student guide, and it outlined all of the mandatory tasks and essential resources for you and your student. So students were able and are still able to access this through the new student checklist in the Bentley Connect portal. And at this time, if your student does have any incomplete tasks, that's okay, but please make sure that they are able to log in and complete those as soon as they're able to. And here are a few of the different summer checklist items. So as you can see, we've had a lot of deadlines throughout the past couple of months, talking about the tech ethics agreement so students can set up that Bentley email to receive emails and notifications from us, being able to review the new student guide with all of the information from across campus. In June, students really focused on the online orientation, the critical reading and writing essay, math selection survey, so some of those pieces to help them register for courses. In July, we just wrapped up advising and registering for those fall courses. Students were able to get the student bill, and then they also received their first housing assignment from the residential center last week. And then in August, as we're coming closer to orientation, students will be asked to complete the self-guided learning courses, which we'll touch upon in just a little bit, and complete some of their workday onboarding tasks. And then in August, at the end of the month and through September, that's when we have our various pre-orientation programs and orientation programs, and we're excited to have all of your students participate in those programs.
Bentley Beginnings, as I mentioned, is our online orientation program. We just like to share this for our families at this point in the process because we realize that you all are incredibly busy and may not have had the opportunity to review this, but we really do recommend when your schedule allows to take a look at this. It's about an hour to go through it all. You can do it at your own pace. It saves your spot as you go through, but we've really found this incredibly helpful for students to make that transition from what is the information they have been learning about Bentley through the admission process when they visit Bentley, and really start to pivot and think about, okay, I have some of this information, but how do I use it? What am I going to access? What do I need to know about this new community that I'm a part of? So if you haven't had the chance to take a look at it, we highly encourage you to do so. You are able to create a guest account and go ahead and see all of the same content that your students were able to see. It's been a really valuable resource when students are, in that early summer process and are still kind of, for our traditionally aged college students, making that transition from high school into what is this college experience going to be. I would also say for our transfer students who are coming from another collegiate setting, really being able to have a quick intro into, okay, they get college life, but what is it to be a part of the Bentley community? So this is that quick snapshot that really gives them the inside scoop of what does it mean to be a part of this community.
And then last week, we were able to have our new student registration. So prior to registration beginning, our academic services team was able to provide academic overviews to provide students the opportunity to get a better understanding of what the requirements for the semester was, but also to familiarize themselves with the course selection software. And so really following those overviews, they were able to connect with faculty and staff on any of the different information on advising and allow students to ask any questions that they may have. So students were able to register on the 24th for our transfer students. Our first year students registered on the 26th. And then we will have an orientation support and a registration support during orientation on September 1st if students have any questions or any changes or updates need to be made. We also have been able to offer various virtual engagement opportunities for our new students this summer. So students are able to connect with our student coordinators and upper class students through our social media account. So on Instagram, we have an Instagram handle that is Welcome Falcons. We have various days each week that we post things. We have a Tech Tip Tuesday. We have a Where Are We Wednesday, where students are really able to see where their peers are, see where our student leaders are this summer, and get to know the community a little bit more. And then we also have Baby Falc Fridays, which is an opportunity for our new students to answer any questions based on different themes throughout the summer. We also offer virtual office hours for students every Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So students are able to connect with us via email and phones to ask any questions that they may have. From June through August, we have our new Falcon newsletters. So those go out once a month, and we're able to highlight some pieces on upcoming events, but also information that helps them get connected to the Bentley community. And then we also offer monthly social events. So we've been able to have virtual bingo. We had a virtual meet and greet, and we'll have a virtual trivia event for all students to participate in as well. So a few different ways for our new students to connect with each other prior to moving onto campus.
All right. And then some of the ways that we've been engaging with our families and supporters are through our live chats, which you are joining one right now, through our newsletter series. We also have a fabulous resource directly on our website. So if you go to bentley.edu/orientation, we have a video series there that really highlights some of the support resources for families. So again, if maybe you can't carve out time to go through that online orientation, that video series is another great resource. And additionally, the live chats are all recorded as well. So if there's a specific topic that you're hoping to gain a little bit more information on, that's another area that we would really encourage you to dig into. And again, this content is more directed to families and supporters. However, if there's something that you see of value that's helpful to share with your student, please feel free to do so. We are, obviously sharing these resources to students in different formats, but any way that we can make sure that they're feeling supported and have a foundation is going to be helpful. We really wanted to make sure that we could take a quick moment to walk through some of this, because I think it's important for us to showcase there's been a lot that your students have been doing. There's a lot of opportunities for engagement, but it doesn't stop there. There are so many ways that your student is going to connect directly with our Bentley community. And as I mentioned, we're going to showcase that through, walking through the different programs that your students have access to. And again, that's going to continue once your students are here, whether that's, through the different activities that our staff and faculty that will put on, our student leaders will put on. There's just always something there for your student to connect. But one shameless plug that I did want to put out there before we start to transition into some of the pieces that are left over for your students to complete, and then also these programs, is that in the fall, we always offer a post-orientation virtual workshop. So this is something that will typically happen, within the first month of September. So your students have gone through orientation. We hold a virtual workshop where we invite families and supporters to come to, and this is a way for you to hear a quick snapshot of what your students engaged in through orientation. You're able to hear a welcome from our Vice President for Student Affairs, and then we'll walk through some specific support resources that are important for you to be aware of now that your student is at Bentley. So thinking about what are some of the ways that your students are going to be supported through social connection, through inclusion and belonging, through well-being, academically, what are important pieces for you to keep in mind. So now that they're there, things are, they're going to their first classes. What are some of these looming questions that you might have? So we'll be sending out that invitation shortly. So please consider joining us. That's something that we host late night to try to accommodate as many folks as possible. We recognize with the global campus, that's not going to capture everyone. So we, of course, will record that and it will be available for folks to view at that point. The other piece is If people are able to travel to campus, we have a wonderful community celebration in October called Falcon Weekend, which is a celebration for students, faculty, staff, alumni, families. So if you are able to travel to the area, we just wanted to make sure that we could extend that invite for you to join us. On campus if you're able. If not, there are some virtual ways to be able to connect through that weekend as well. But it's just a really fun way to be able to come together as a community. I'm going to turn it over to Claudette to talk about, as I mentioned, those programs are going to be the opportunities for your students to now bring this to life, right? They've engaged with Bentley virtually, they've connected in these different platforms, and now this is really where that magic happens. So I'm going to turn it over to Claudette to share a little bit about our Mosaic experience.
I want everyone to take a big, deep breath and let it out. I tell parents this all the time. I'm a proud Bentley parent. So not only as my role as the director of the Multicultural Center, I want to make sure that the young people that come into Bentley are comfortable transitioning into our environment. And that means that they know that there's a place where it's a home away from home. So in the Multicultural Center, all are welcome. Now, not every student will take advantage of what we have to offer, but we want to make sure that the doors are open, that there is not one student that can't say they can't find a place where they belong, because we're open and we're inviting and we want you to be a part of the center. So with that being said, I'll go into some of the things that we have to offer at the center. We start with one of our capstone programs called the Mosaic Experience. It's a 3-day experience. It starts August the 28th through the 30th. Students move into the halls, they meet their peers, and then they go to workshops. These workshops are on culture, intersectionality, race, religion. It's a little bit of everything. And what we do for our support people that are out there listening, we build on what you've already instilled into your young person. We want them to be their true, authentic self. And as a result of that, we want them to explore who they are and to develop some leadership skills that they were hoping to get when they got to college. So we provide that safe space for them to come and learn and develop with their peers. It is social networking. And with anyone that has gone off to college, you will understand that it can be daunting. Like, you come onto campus, you don't know anyone, and you're a little nervous. So with this experience, we hope that you will find the people, that the students will find people that they connect to and that they can feel comfortable with. Because once you found the people that literally are going to be your support on campus, it makes it a little easier transitioning to whether it's classes or social events, because you have someone. And we also know by the students who have participated in the Mosaic Experience in the past, they do better academically, socially, as well as emotionally, because they have a support system. So this program is open. The applications for the program are online. And we have up until Friday before, we close the applications. But we want this experience to be one that students walk away feeling as if they're connected. So it's somebody at Bentley. So parents, understand this. If it's even a guidance counselor or older sibling, if you're out there as a support person, we want you to be a part of the experience. First day of the experience is August the 28th. And when students move in, we have an entire team from our orientation leaders, our resident life staff, as well as our ambassadors for the program, welcoming your student on campus. And they get comfortable in their dorm room, and then we start the program. We have a support workshop for parents. So we don't want them just to drop off their young person. We want you to see what we're going to offer your son or daughter as they progress through the program. But it gives you an opportunity to meet some of the faculty and staff that are on campus, and to make sure that you're comfortable leaving your young person in our hands. We're not asking you to relinquish your parental rights. We're saying, let us help you to make this a smooth transition for your young person. For many students, this is the first time they've been away from home. So adjusting to their new environment and having a support system is really important. So we offer the Mosaic Experience. For those students who are not a part of this 3-day experience, they can still connect with our office. If you notice my background, it's called Coming Full Circle. That's the women's group of color on campus. It's open to all women because we want to support our women. We want to make sure that they have a great experience in this male-dominated institution. So we make sure that there's a group of faculty and staff that are actually encouraging and supporting them professionally as well as academically. They come together, they do programs together, they have professional development, and talking about real life issues, and that's really important. The male version of this same organization is called Mankind Movement. And once again, it's open to all men or all people who identify as male. and they can come in, they can adjust, they can have workshops, they can meet with faculty, staff. The nice thing about both of these organizations, we're connected to alumni. So you're getting information from people who have gone through Bentley, had a great experience, coming back, giving of their time, and encouraging you to be your true, authentic self. We also have an incredible opportunity for your students to get involved in a program called Peer-to-Peer. It's our mentoring program. We're still accepting applications for that as well, because we want them to have, we call it the bigs and the littles. So our bigs are our upperclassmen, and they actually have a baby Falcon that they will walk through the process for an entire year. So they're making sure academically that they're getting to the resources. Now, we're not saying that our mentors are tutors. We're not saying that at all. We're saying that they're a support system directing them into the right fields. If they need help with math, saying, oh, we have the math lab, we have the Leaf Lab if you need things. If we need something for CISS, you have the Sandbox. You have a mentor, an older upperclassman that's going to walk you through your freshman year. It's meant to be social, so they go to social events together. Our students in the program, sometimes they have a hard time eating for the first time by themselves. If they're an only child, they're used to it. But if they're used to having a big boisterous family around them, they need somebody else that may actually say, hey, come go to lunch with me, come go to breakfast with me. And having your mentor encourage you to come and do things is really important. So that social aspect is a great opportunity. So peer-to-peer is open to all of our freshman students or our first-year students. Anyone that's transitioning into Bentley for the first time, this program, you want to get involved. It's exciting because it's also tied to our Bentley Plus program. We encourage the students that go through peer-to-peer to be a part of the Bentley Plus program. We want you, whatever you're learning in the classroom, we want it to be enhanced by this program. So peer-to-peer is there for students as well. So we have the Mosaic Experience. That's a great 3-day experience for all students, and it's learning about culture, religion, all things that make you human. Then we have peer-to-peer, which is our mentor and mentee program that's open to all first-year students. We have Me Full Circle, Mankind Movement, the male and female organizations on campus that allow you to communicate with faculty, staff, as well as our alum. We also have a great block party, September 6th, another social event that kicks off the things that we're doing in the Multicultural Center. So parents and support people, please encourage your young people to come in, visit. There may be resources within the Multicultural Center that they're not aware of. We will help them find what they're looking for, but it is the home away from home.
How do you even follow that? Yes, Claudette, you're such an amazing woman. I love it. I just wanted to give a quick shout out for our friends in the residential center. For if your student applied to be part of one of our defined communities, which you can see on the side of the slide, we have a few different defined communities on campus, which allow for a shared space for students who have either a shared interest or shared background, where they want to come together and have that be a part of not just their own experience, but where they're also living. They have the opportunity to apply into one of these defined communities. If they were offered a space, then they will be moving in on Tuesday, August 29th. There will be some specific programming for these communities that will occur that evening into the Wednesday. So they'll be able to participate in some leadership opportunities. So just as a heads up about that, and your student would have received this information. So unfortunately, those applications for defined communities are closed. But if your student is a part of those, then they should have received that information. Something to just make a quick note about is if you are a family member or a supporter who is joining your student on that move-in day, we do have a welcome reception that will happen following the move-in. So if you are able to stick around for that, we invite you to be a part of that. And if there are any questions that you have about the defined communities, about what that day will look like, please feel free to reach out to our friends in the residential center. They can be reached at housing@bentley.edu.
All right, so we are really excited this year to also be offering an early orientation program, early move-in for our international student community. So those students who are coming in on student visas from other countries. So This year, starting on Wednesday, August 30th, all of our international students will be able to arrive early. So that does mean move in early on that day, and really use that day to get settled. Many of those traveling from afar will have had long journeys before they even reach Bentley. So that is so that you can get settled before the general orientation begins. Do any of the action items you may have, getting your phone set up, getting your bank account set up, those types of things that, take a little bit more time as an international student. So not only will we be able to move in on that Wednesday, August 30th, but we will also be hosting a welcome reception that evening from 5:30 to 7 p.m. You are welcome to attend with your students. That will be a reception that has all of the staff from our office, the Center for International Students and Scholars, hopefully some returning international students as well. And we'll also have the opportunity on that day to overlap with the Mosaic program, as Claudette previously described. So there will be a field day that day, and so we will allow or offer our students to join with students who are participating in that experience as well. And then we will also be offering a trip to Target that evening. Target is a store that has pretty much everything you will need for setting up in your residence hall, personal items, anything you may need to get settled. So we have sent out the full schedule to students. So make sure that you are checking your portal as well. We have sent out an RSVP so that we know whether you are attending with your student for that reception. We have also sent out on the residential center side an email asking for folks to confirm when they will be arriving so that we can make sure to be here to welcome you on campus. And then our next day will be the bulk of our early orientation program. So as I mentioned, this is before your general orientation starts. So on Thursday, August 31st in the morning, we will have a breakfast, an activity that offers you the ability to connect with some of our other international students who are coming from all over the world. We will also be doing a session on key concepts related to the F1 immigration category. So folks will be receiving over the next couple of days a video that includes a general overview of all of the different visa pieces that international students need to keep in mind while they're here, as well as some other mandatory immigration requirements. So this day, hopefully you will already have had some time to absorb all of that information, and students will really be able to come and ask any remaining questions that they have. We'll also be offering a getting set up session. So we'll be talking about US health insurance, phone plans, social security numbers, driver's licenses, an introduction to campus services as well. And that will precede the vendor fair, which is offered to all new students, where we will have different vendors like banks and phone providers, as well as some on-campus resources for students to connect with. We'll have an international student panel and luncheon. So you'll have your student will have the opportunity to ask questions to current international students who maybe have been here for a semester, 2 semesters, or several years at this point. And then we'll have sessions on adjusting to life at Bentley, adjusting to life in the US. And then you will go to general orientation, which kicks off with convocation on that Thursday afternoon. So hopefully your students who are a part of this international student community will have already booked tickets that accommodate this early orientation programming, as they will be receiving really useful information from us, as well as, again, just the opportunity to connect with other students and get settled before that busy or general orientation program begins. We also have many other ways that students can connect with our offices. We have campus organizations that represent our international students. And we have various programs that we'll be sharing with students to let them know how they can get involved.
Wonderful. So the next piece is talking a little bit about the larger new student orientation experience. And so this is something that all students will participate in. I know we've discussed a few programs leading up to this point, but now we're going to talk a little bit about what can your student expect as they start to think about those first few days before classes start. So something to keep in mind is that your student next week will be receiving some emails around our self-guided learning courses. So please do make sure that you are helping us to nudge them along to complete those courses in advance of their arrival to Bentley. We'll also be offering a meet your orientation group and leader, a meet and greet. This is virtual, but we have received some really great feedback from our incoming students that having this space prior to, jumping into any of the pre-orientation experiences or the orientation program in general has just felt really comforting to know that you already have someone that you can reach out to. You start to connect with some of your group members, and something that is really unique about the Bentley orientation program is that their orientation groups are actually the groups that they will spend an entire semester together in their Falcon Discovery seminar. So they will begin with these groups during orientation, but then that cohort really continues to stay together, work together. They get to connect with their peer leaders, with a faculty member, and really think about that holistic experience that can happen with the growth of that group. And then, as Anna mentioned, for our international students, that experience will take place August 30th through September 4th, with the larger orientation experience really capturing that August 31st through the September 4th timeframe. Just to dig in a little bit about these self-guided learning courses. So this is something that we provide to our students prior to their arrival on campus, because we want to make sure, again, when we're thinking about the values and those shared understandings of rights and responsibilities, we want to make sure that there is a shared understanding of what are the resources at Bentley, what are the expectations at Bentley, and how do we make sure that everybody has access to this information. We know, especially with the global campus, that people are going to have different experiences with these types of topics. And so we want to make sure that as our students are coming to campus, there is this general sense of what is this information that's going to be useful? How might I use these resources? And so the different topics that these courses navigate are alcohol, healthy relationships, inclusion and belonging, mental health, and resilience. And again, I think the really big key to all of this is, what is some of the knowledge around this, but how do people use these resources? I think these are definitely areas where people may not think that they need to use the resources, or may not need to help a friend use resources around these topics. And so we just want to make sure that our community members are knowledgeable around these topics so that we can continue to provide a healthy and safe space for everyone on our campus. So these courses will open up next week. Again, they're kind of going at your own pace. So as students are able to take them, please, encourage them to stay on top of that. I would say it's about, 3 hours total, 3.5 hours total for students to navigate these pieces. Prior to their arrival to campus, we do need them to be focusing on the top 3, and then Cognito, which is our course on mental health. That's something that will work with students through that first month of September. But if your student's eager and wants to jump in and do all 4 right away, they'll have access to do that then.
All right, and another plug for our virtual orientation meet and greet on August 27th. So this is an opportunity for your students to connect with our student orientation team before arriving to campus. A few things that we will touch upon in this session is any updates on orientation that we can share with the whole group. We will share information on our orientation app. So all students will be added into our campus groups involvement platform prior to orientation beginning, so they can see the whole schedule, find out some campus resources, and all of that will be on a mobile app, but also is available through a desktop computer as well. And really the main point of it is for your students to connect with our team, but also with other incoming students. And then a little bit of information on our orientation program. So this will run from August 31st through September 4th. And it's really an opportunity for students to connect with various Bentley community members, including new and upper class students, staff, and faculty. So on that first day of orientation, this will be move-in for the majority of our new students. And on this day, we have a vendor fair and lunch that families are welcome to attend as well. And then everybody will head over to convocation in the arena. After convocation, we will have a family reception for all of our family members in the arena. And at that time, all of your students will head over to our Dana Athletic Center to have our orientation kickoff. So that's where they will get to meet their orientation groups in person, meet our orientation leaders in person, and really get started on orientation. The next morning, we'll really focus on academics at Bentley. So we will have a bit of information on our Falcon Discovery seminar. We will have a keynote from Ken Wadake Jr., who speaks about the Free Hugs movement. We'll have some time for specific academic overviews, whether you are a new first-year student, if you're in the honors program, a transfer student, an exchange student, we will have different academic overviews for all of our students. And then we'll have an academic resource fair for students to connect with our different learning centers on campus and connect with some of our resources for them as they think about academics on campus. On Saturday and Sunday, we really focus in on the Bentley community. So we will have orientation small group meetings. We'll go over Title IX. We have a Bentley football game happening on the Saturday of orientation. So we'll have all of our new students go to that game, experience their first college football game as a whole group, which will be really fun. And then we have a few different traditional events that students will participate in Saturday night with Lowering Our Shield and I'm a Bentley Student and then we have our closing program on Sunday, and they'll really be able to connect with those upper class student leaders, hear from one more keynote, and then wrap up the orientation experience.
All right, so we realized that was a whole lot of information. But what we wanted to do is go ahead and use the remaining 10 minutes or so that we have to answer some of your questions, and also recognize that some questions may come up after you have a moment to digest that, all of this information. So we wanted to provide our contact information on this slide, so that way you are able to reach out to us with any other questions that might come up. Again, this is being recorded, so if you are watching this as a recording, please make sure that you can reach out to us via email, so that way you can get your questions answered. So I know that there was a question in here about Mosaic. Claudette, I think you had shared that the deadline to apply is the end of this week. Is that correct?
That is correct. The last opportunity, we've been advertising the program for almost 6 weeks. We sent letters to the students, as well as sent a letter to parents reminding them about the program. So the final day is Thursday.
Wonderful. So folks, please make sure if your student is interested and has not applied yet, please do nudge them along. If you are looking for that application as well, if you go to the orientation website, and again, that's bentley.edu/orientation, we do have direct links to the Multicultural Center page, which has the link to be able to apply for Mosaic there. So you can access that information there. Also, Anna mentioned some really great resources for our international students. And again, there's some direct links for there on our website as well. Let's see. There's a few questions in here for family members about what they do when their students are here. So one is for our family members who their student is in a defined community. So typically what we have found is that when a student is arriving for a pre-orientation program or a pre-arrival program, typically families have maybe participated in whatever that initial day is, and then people will typically travel home or wherever that next spot is for them. So again, if your student is coming in for Mosaic, there's some wonderful programming happening on that first day, as Claudette mentioned. If your student is participating in a defined community, there is that welcome reception on that Tuesday. And then for our international students, we do have that welcome reception that first evening that families are welcome to join us for. If your student is moving in on that Thursday, on that day, we have that vendor fair, we'll have lunch, and then our convocation ceremony that families are invited to join us for. If your student is arriving earlier in the week, that convocation ceremony is actually going to be streamed live. So there's no expectation that families are sticking around to that Thursday. Obviously, if this is your first time in the area and you're looking to explore, please book your travel plans accordingly, however you would like to personally do that. But there's no expectation that families are sticking around to that Thursday. Again, if you are moving in that day or in the area, you are invited to join us for that vendor fair and convocation. But again, there's no expectation that folks are here, and we will have that convocation ceremony streamed live for anyone who's unable to attend with us on that day, and it will be recorded too. So if it's something you want to view at a later date, you can go ahead and do that. Sometimes folks will ask if they should stay in the area. To be honest, your student is going to be incredibly busy. So again, I'm going to say, please do whatever works best for you and your family. But if you are staying in the area, really the first day that students will start to have some free time would be on that Monday. So they will be pretty busy throughout all of these programs and then throughout orientation. So just like to be upfront with families about that so that you kind of know what to expect there.
There was a question about January students participating in Mosaic. That we have an abbreviated version of Mosaic for students that are coming in January. It's not as intense as a 3-day program that we have in August, but there is something available for our new students that come in January.
Yeah, and Claudette, I think that's a really great point too. So I think what's important to know for any of our families whose students are starting in January, we will have an entire onboarding process and cycle for your students. So thank you for joining us now. We love that you want to engage with our community already, but we will have these specific live chats and different engagement opportunities for your student throughout the fall and into the early spring. So please know that there are additional resources and opportunities for your students. With that being said, there was a question about whether or not January students could go to Falcon Weekend, and yes, any community members can join us for that event. It is important to note that housing is not provided for that. So if your student is not locally, we just need to think a little bit about that. But yes, community members are welcome to join us for that celebration.
And for support people that are out there, as I stated earlier, my son, the oldest son, attended Bentley. This is the most welcoming community that you will find. They will answer your questions. However, we encourage the students, if they have problems or any situation that comes up, to use the resources that are here. But parents are welcome to email and ask questions if they have questions as well. You will be embraced. So don't think that your question is too small or people are going to belittle you. We won't, because we realize that there are first generation students in our population, as well as students who have parents that are relinquishing the last baby out of the nest. So we are very cognizant of that. And as a Bentley parent, we take that serious. So I want you to understand, utilize the resources we have for parents as well. This is your environment as well as it's your son or daughter's environment. So we want you to be comfortable leaving your person here. You know more about your child than we will ever know, but we want to be able to take what you've given us and sort of build upon that. And that means if you need to tell us something, you can do that. And we're available to you as well.
100%. Like we said, this is very much a partnership, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure that your student is succeeding, and you're a huge part of that. Just a few more questions. Please feel free to continue to add them if there's any other questions that folks have, but there was one about student ID. So just a shameless plug, if your student hasn't submitted their ID photo, please make sure they do that. If they don't, or they're unable to do it in advance of orientation, we can definitely take their photo on the day of. I just know that sometimes people don't prefer that when they've moved in to campus, or if they're commuting to campus and having to travel. So if students are able to send that in advance, wonderful. If not, no worries. We can help to support that on the move-in day for students. It will be a part of the packet when students arrive. So regardless of when students are arriving, whether that's as a student athlete, coming through Mosaic, International, experience, orientation, defined community, whatever that might be for your student, there will be a welcome packet that they receive that has that student ID in there. And for our commuter students, we have a specific check-in location for our commuter students that we will have that information for you there.
For the vendor fair question, we do have a few different businesses and departments on campus. So we have some from our Alumni and Family Engagement Office, AT&T, Bank of America, our bookstore, some other local banks will have our dining, transportation, and mail services team, Microsoft, and then a lot of other local banks for students to really learn about those resources, from TD Bank, Santander, PNC, and then T-Mobile, and a few other of the different phone and internet companies.
All right, so we are coming up on time. If we were unable to get to your question, or more questions have sparked from any of our responses, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are happy to either answer your questions or help connect you with the appropriate office to best support that. Mia, if you could just quickly post up if you have it, our contact slide, just so that way folks can get one more quick glance of what our emails are. And just want to thank everyone for joining us today. I think we have been working really hard to prepare and get ready for your student, and we know that you've been doing the same. So we cannot wait to have you and your student join us on campus when you're able. And we really, really, really look forward to having this journey together too. So thank you so much. And please do not hesitate to reach out if you need anything. Thank you, everyone.